Temperance and patience, fellow netizens. I am Mr. M. Today I'm going to be speaking about race and politics, among my two favorite things to speak about. Now I feel the need to disclose that I say that past statement with as much sincerity as I can muster. I honestly find astronomical joy in orating my acumen on almost any topic that is highly sensitive or culturally taboo. But that's a video for another time. Today in particular, the discussion will be centered around the duly elected incumbent United States Vice President Kamala Harris. Ever since the withdrawal of Joe from the 2024 Democratic primary, of which he would have certainly won, the vice president was understood to be, quote-unquote, next in line for the Democratic Party nomination. While the withdrawal of an incumbent one-term president from his own primary is an overdue video unto itself, I will state that I was pleasantly surprised to learn that he will not be the next president for the next 4 years. On to Vice President Harris and her racial background. It's become the topic of debate given the likelihood of her being the next president. The reason why her racial background is a topic for debate will be made clear momentarily. Let's shed some light on exactly what her racial background is by looking at her parents. Her father is a former Stanford professor by the name of Donald J. Harris. He is an immigrant from Jamaica. It is worth noting that 92.5% of Jamaican residents, according to the census, are black. So Vice President Harris being black makes total sense, especially if you've ever seen her father. It is also worth noting that some people have this misconception about the vice president claiming heritage of indigenous Americans. This is not the case, and I'm not aware of any time when she has ever claimed to be Native American. Now, her mother was biologist Shyamala Gopalan. She was an immigrant from India. So when you look at the context of South Asian nationalities, this is the context in which Vice President Harris being Indian starts to make sense. Vice President Harris is of African ancestry. Vice President Harris is of South Asian ancestry. There is a word for people of these dual ancestries and dual ethnicities. That word is mixed. Vice President Harris is mixed. It is possible to have ancestry from multiple different continents, multiple different nationalities, multiple different races. I ought to know since I am technically mixed myself. Funny enough, also like Kamala Harris, I am a native Californian who finds interest in political matters. So I hold a kinship with Kamala Harris when it comes to that. Also, fun fact, I did actually meet Kamala Harris 2 times, but that's a video for another time. Now, given how difficult it would be to attain her ethnicity simply by looking at her, it's understanding why the average uninformed person may hold some confusion as to what exactly she is. I at least have the luxury of having darker than average complexion, a considerably wide nose, and full lips. Physical traits, among others, that are typical of those who have African ancestry. So one could safely and correctly assume that I'm African American. I further feel an additional level of kinship with the vice president, being that I, like her, have also been on the receiving end of an expressed confusion over my ethnic identity, despite my previously listed physical characteristics. The only difference is that in my case, this expressed confusion have actually come from other black people. Again, my own baggage and respect to my ethnicity is a video for another day. In summation, the vice president is black. The vice president is South Asian. The vice president is Jamaican. The vice president is Indian. The vice president is American. The vice president is mixed. All of those descriptors are valid. None of them are mutually exclusive. To the fellow netizens, patience and temperance.